What kind of the game plan going in, and how exciting is this period of time for people in your end of the business of the Marlins?
Yeah, it's always the most exciting time of the year. This is what we do. This is our World Series. It's an opportunity, like I said in the past, you make a big contribution to the organization with all the players that you have an opportunity to bring in. This particular year is really exciting. It's a strong draft. There's a lot of hitters. It's really deep. So preparation's underway, and we got a few days and start peeling some names off the board.
We've been talking hitting for years. Is that still the number one?
Yeah, it's continued to be the number one goal here. It's philosophically, that's how we set our board up. It's no secret. We try to put the best hitters up high. We make pitchers push guys out of the way in order to take arms. Sometimes they do, a lot of times they don't. But the priority will and continue to be hitters. I think, and in this particular draft, it's really deep compared to last year's draft. This is a little bit more like 2021, where a lot of the good hitters exist much further down the draft board.
If that's the case, then if there's, say, pitchers up top where you see, again, with you guys saying 3 picks in the top 50, again, if you see a pitcher up top and knowing that you can get hitters later, is that also balancing into the equation?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just having some strategy conversations today about those kind of things. Often teams, you think about taking the best player. Sometimes you don't know who the best player is. They're all good. You might have a cluster of 4 or 5 guys right there, and it's really hard to distinguish which is the perfect player to take. There's a lot of other things that come into play. So the strategy and the depth of the draft and what the organization needs and those kind of things are certainly high in the draft board. As you go further down, it's a little bit different. But high in the draft board, yeah, a lot of that strategy comes into play, and we've been talking a lot about that today.
And best player available, that's really based off of each team's own personal needs, desires, and all that too.
That's exactly right, and that's why you see every year when the draft unfolds, 5 years later, you're going to look back and the order is going to look like it was all wrong. But that's one thing we do know. But in the moment, teams are taking players for a number of different reasons because a lot of the players are very, very similar. And this year's draft, as I just referenced, it's really strong with hitters deep down the board. So this is the first year that all those COVID seniors are now eligible for the draft. So there's players like Braden Taylor, who went undrafted. Gonzalez at Ole Miss, undrafted. Jacob Wilson, really good shortstop at Grand Canyon, undrafted. There's a lot of those kind of players in the draft.
And you mentioned with the COVID stuff after this year, when you start seeing stuff more or less level out, how do you think it's going to impact with the talent pool as you start seeing the effects of the COVID, that 5-round draft start to recede a little bit?
Yeah, this is probably the last year for that.
Yeah.
This is the last year because a lot of you get to scout the players more, you get to see them in the summertime, and all of the COVID stuff is over with now. So going into the 2024 draft, it should normalize, I should say. So.